have such sights to show you.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Four Dead Losers podcast. We are two of the Four Dead Losers. I'm Ramito.
Adam.
And today we are going to be talking about Blackbone 2. Ooh, spooky. Adam, this was your pick, non-spoiler thoughts. What did you think of the movie?
I really liked it. Definitely some flaws, definitely some things I'm sure people nitpicked about. Like I think going back now, what is this movie came out last year, I think?
Last October.
So like I think, there was definitely, I think, mixed feelings on it. I thought, for the most part, it was well received, but then the more I, dug in deeper now that we got closer to recording, I see that there was definitely some, people on opposite sides of the fence with it. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought it was one of those sequels that didn't need to be made, but they did a good job with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I think it's a good movie.
Rating out of 10?
I would probably say, objectively, probably a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5 out of 10 is pretty high. Well, that's average for you. Never mind.
It's average.
Non-spoiler thoughts for myself. I do find myself on the other side of the spectrum. I didn't really... not that this movie was bad. I think it was more not my cup of tea, if that makes any sense. So I didn't really think that the acting was very good. Especially from Gwen, I think. I do like the direction that they took, more of like a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of thing, which is like, we had the 2012 remake of Nightmare on Elm Street. I think the remake came out in 2012, and we've had kind of like this void of Freddy Krueger, right? And this kind of saw that and filled it in. Especially because I think later on this year we're supposed to get Camp Crystal Lake on Hulu or something like that. So there's definitely, I feel like, a quote-unquote need for this sort of antagonist, which we'll get into what that means in a little bit. But all that being said, for myself, I'd probably give this movie like a 4.5 out of 10. So just a reminder, my average is 5, so we're a little tiny bit below that. More enjoyable than Sinners, in my opinion. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into the spoiler section of the video. This is going to be a spoiler warning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bang. So the movie basically opens up with a title card that says Rocky Mountains 1957. And there's a woman on the phone who we'll find out later. Her name is Alice, I think.
No, it's Hope.
Hope, you're right. Where did I get Alice from?
I don't know. You watching Resident Evil, I guess?
I guess so. Hope is on the phone, and she says that she's in a youth camp in the middle of the Colorado mountains.
Yeah.
It's snowing outside. She's on a payphone, by the way. I should have mentioned this. That kind of oversees a lake, right?
Yeah,
or a frozen lake. And then she asks, who is she talking to? And then I don't think we hear the
No,
answer.
you don't hear anything. It's very reminiscent of the first movie, which they do a lot of callbacks to things in the first movie, which are a lot of my pros for this one. And so a lot of what you're getting is, I think it's inference that she's talking to somebody on the other side that probably, is, again, if we're assuming Black Phone 2, right, we assume it's probably a dead person or something, talking to her. But it seems like they're answering questions and they're able to communicate. Yeah. So its inference too is she's saying yes, and how did you know, or what did it say, whatever. But then it's also inference that she loses connection because she's hello, which is also, again, kind of call back to all the phone calls that I was about to say Benny had in the original movie.
Yeah, she eventually hangs up and then runs off back to the camp.
And it fades out in white, right? Whites out, which is cool.
And then we get our opening credits, and then our opening credits are basically two things are going on. I think one thing is they're showing newspaper clippings, right? Of kidnappings. or something.
Yeah, kidnapping,
Murders, something like that. And then the second thing that they're showing in the opening credits is these hands that are clawing at an ice block, right, to get the mask. What's his name? The grabber.
Yeah.
To get the grabber's mask out of this ice block. And you can see this guy really wants it. Like, his hands, basically, like, no nails, are all bloody, that kind of stuff. And then we get back to the movie. And we're in a schoolyard in 1982. And there's a fight going on between Finn and the new kid, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, the new kid was making fun of Finn, saying like, "Oh, you speak to dead people," or "Oh, you don't look so tough because you killed a serial killer."
Yeah, school killer. Yeah.
The fight,
just you off the
grabber.
The grabber, yeah. Like you survived it, so you think you're tough.
Yeah. Which is kind of fucked up. Actually, really, not kind of.
I mean, it was what, the 80s, so
yeah. After the fight ends, Gwen, which is Finney's sister, Finney is the little kid from the first movie. He's not very little anymore. They basically converse, and I don't really remember if the conversation here has anything of sustenance.
The big thing is Gwen. It just sets up all the characters that are going to be the main people in the story.
We meet Ernie.
Yeah, we meet Ernie. So basically, the sister is kind of like, "Yo, did you really have to do that?" And he's like, he basically explained why he did it, although she doesn't really fully believe him. And we get the kind of the explanation that this seems to be a common theme, like he's always getting into fights with people, and that seems to be, I guess, a thing that he's using as a way to deal with his trauma, as he just feels like he needs to lash out, right, anger. And then we run into Ernie, which drives up on them, and he's talking to Gwen, the sister, from the first movie, and basically talks about, "Hey, I'm going to get tickets to Duran Duran, and if you want to go." And it just kind of sets up this idea that, like, Ernie wants to, obviously date her. And then I think we find out there that this is, Ernie is the sibling to Robin, which was Finn's best friend, or not best friend, but Finn's protector / friend in the first movie. That was the last victim of the grabber before Finn. And so that's how that goes. And I guess real quick, just to give a synopsis of the first one, just in case you didn't see the first one. Long story short, the grabber, which is the villain of the first movie, he kidnaps children in the city or the town. He ends up kidnapping a few. Robin, which is the one that protects, Finn, basically is the last one that's abducted before eventually he gets to Finn. And it's important to note that what's his name? Robin and Ernesto are actually played by they're the same kid. Like, they're the same guy. So they brought him back because they liked him so much and realized he's good, and he didn't really get a whole lot of playtime in the first one because he was one of the early victims. But essentially Finn gets these phone calls from the black phone while he's trapped in this basement, which the grabber also, I think, he hears it. And so this is the first one is a very big psychological thriller in that sense, which I thought that was going to be more horror movie the way they made it seem. But it was more of a psychological thriller where the victims are the ones making the phone calls, talking to Finn on how to protect himself and survive the grabber. And eventually Robin, being the last victim, is the one that gives him the final phone call to let him know how to basically step up and how to fight and believe in himself. And so that leads to essentially Finn overtaking the grabber and ended up taking his life before being found. And another, I guess, part of that is the subplot of the first movie is the sister has these premonitions and visions of basically the dead showing them the past, so she can see and inference things that you would otherwise know unless you were seeing it through their eyes. And that's how they end up finding the area that Finn is in. However, they don't actually get it exactly to the house. They actually find where the bodies are. So the victims show her how to get to them, but it just happens to be in close proximity to where Finn is. And that's the whole setup to this movie is them how they're dealing and coping with the aftermath, which I think is what, like a couple years, 5-6 years, something like that.
I think you're right. It's like 5 years or something.
Like 5 years, and because they're all older. So, going alongside that quick exposition, basically, again, we find out that Ernie is the brother to Robin. So it's kind of like that connection there. They're still tight knit, that family and those kids. And he's like, just because, what do you say? Just because I was best friends with him doesn't mean I want him like with my sister. And she's like, shut up. It's not like that. Or whatever. And then that's kind of the setup. It's just like, hey, this is the brother / the same kid, but don't think about that. And then they go to the house, like, and then
we end up
dad
the house, yeah. Where Finn, we see that he goes outside to partake in some Mary Jane, and he's having flashbacks from the first movie, right? And there's even like he sees the grabber hiding behind like a tree or something.
He's
like that.
Well, he's not even hiding; he's just there, and he's just like
in like the middle of the yard. But like when it switches to Gwen's perspective, because Gwen comes outside eventually, he's not there, so.
It's all mental.
Yeah.
And he even says before Gwen gets out there, he repeats the line from the first movie. He's like, "Don't touch me, I'll scratch your face," or whatever.
Something
like that was his defense of like, oh, well, people are gonna know if they see the scratches or whatever, as if the mask isn't gonna protect him that he wears 100% of the time. But neither here nor there. Continue.
So then here we get basically a conversation between the two of them. Between Gwen and Finn. Gwen and Finn basically have a conversation here where doesn't Finn say like nobody understands me, that kind of stuff?
Well, and it's like kind of the whole premise of this movie, which we don't find out quite yet, but it seems that early on that we might get another rehashing of like Finn and how he's coping and dealing with everything that's going on. But we're going to find out pretty quickly that it's actually the opposite. It's actually Gwen and her like rise up story of how she kind of deals with the stuff that she has going on, which is going to be revealed here in a second.
So basically what happens is that we cut and the screen, and I really like this touch actually.
It's called Super 8, I think is what they call it.
Super 8, when it basically the quality of the film that we're watching goes down, right? But it's supposed to be
like home video with the grainy
really
quality.
Grainy.
You sometimes see like the flash of the film like cutting across, like if it's not set correctly. And again, I didn't realize this. It was funny. Like as I watched it, I'm like, man, this is like giving me such Sinister vibes, right? Like this is exactly how they do the Sinister stuff, which are home movies. Ethan Hawke. But it is the same director, so that they really enjoy doing that. And I think it was very important that they continued on with this, because that was also the same thing they did during the phone calls. Whenever Finn would answer the phone calls in the first movie, they would use the Super 8, and that's how you would see the ghosts or the victims talking to him, like when they were present in the room, even though Finn could never actually see them. And that's a point that I want to make sure that is made in the first movie and in this movie. Finn never can see the people that he's talking to, but the medium of like the phone and stuff is how he communicates. So he only has the audio side of things. He never actually visually can feel them or hear that. He just knows that like over the phone, that's how he communicates. But
but you can feel them.
Oh, yeah,
but so basically we get a bunch of kids showing up to a winter camp. It's not a summer camp. Where let's see, I don't remember. So they show up, they kind of do the check-in, all that kind of stuff, and one of the kids, I forget how he got. The first guy, I think he just gets
followed in the woods. Yeah, he just gets like followed in the woods and
stab the kid in the gut, and we basically see everything.
You just see in Super 8, and I mean they show just enough to where it's like obviously not good. And this was like definitely the first real indication of what the directors wanted, because again, kind of doing some more research on this one since it's been a while. They had come out and said, like with this movie, they instead of doing the psychological thriller, they knew because of how they're going to do it, it needed to be more of a horror. So they definitely showed more like of the gruesome acts, whereas in the first one they didn't. It just was all implied, but never actually seen. But this one, they like. I mean, it was obviously cut. Like they cut and pan and did a bunch of stuff, but it was just a lot of gore. A lot of gore.
And then the kid ends up floating in like under the ice of a frozen lake, and he scratches a W into the surface and then sinks.
Yeah.
And then we still have that green equality, but now we follow Gwen as she wakes up in her bed and she hears a phone ringing. So she walks to the kitchen where the phone is and then turns to the side and realizes that the front door is open.
Mm-hmm.
So then she starts walking to the front door and she kind of stays there for a while until Finn wakes her up, right? So from Finn's perspective, and when Finn wakes her up, the camera goes back to regular quality.
Yeah.
So from Finn's perspective, she was sleepwalking, but in Gwen's mind, or Gwen's perspective, she saw all of this.
She's seeing all of that in like her dream state. So the dream state, like I said in the little quick 2-minute summary of the first movie, essentially she's able to see the visions of what like victims or dead people are showing her, so she can get insight on things that they want her to see.
Yeah.
This was a power that her mother had, and something that plays a big part of this movie and why, you know, she kind of is definitely not a big fan of the power itself at times, is that the mom in the first movie, it was stated by the dad that the mom went crazy because of these visions, and she ended up like taking her own life because she just couldn't take it anymore. Like the visions were taking her down a dark path. Finn had, you know, woken her up. And again, like you said, she's at the front door. But what was interesting was this is like, I mean, I'm sure it's colder because, I mean, they go to the mountains, not very much longer after this.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, a blizzard. But Finn does make a point to, like, touch her arm and say, like, whoa, why is your arm, like it's cold? Like, so obviously way colder than it should be if, like, even just the door was open. Which is our first indication of many coming up that slowly continue to get revealed that what Finn is feeling, or not Finn, sorry, what Gwen is feeling and what she's experiencing can come back to the real world, right? So like for her, she's in that cold environment. She's in the Rocky Mountains where essentially it's implied, right? Because that's where the mom was when she made the first phone call, but she was ice cold when he touched her. So her body was present in that moment. And when she came back into the real world, like her body was affected by what she experienced, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
And which, again, Nightmare on Elm Street vibes, right? Like those, you know, you can do a lot of that stuff.
So then we cut to Gwen at school. She has 3 books, which basically revolve around dreams, dreaming, ghost, and poltergeist are the 3 that she has. There's like a popular girl who like calls her a witch and then walks off or whatever. But then Ernie sits down next to her. And he, you know, they have a conversation basically saying that he bought tickets, and then he gives her Loteria cards.
And then what did he say? And he's like,
tarot cards.
Yeah, tarot cards. He's like, you believe in this woo-woo stuff? I'm like, bro, he talks like that.
It was something else, man. I guess it was the 80s, and this is one of my gripes with the movie is that like they made it very obvious that it took place in the 80s because they just kind of forced Gwen to say radical or
just
kind of slang, I guess.
That's what they said.
That's what they said. To me, it felt kind of forced. Like, oh, it's not 80s enough. Let me she says radical now.
Tubular,
yeah.
Cowabunga.
So then Ernie asks her like the $1 million question, right? Like if her dreams are real, but she just blows it off. I don't want to talk about that.
Right. Well, and she had even asked, she's like, how do you know about the dreams? And this is where he states, my parents had mentioned that you were able to help uncover where
Finn was.
Where my brother was.
Oh, you're right.
I guess how they heard to the group then that like my brother showed you and like through your dreams you communicated with him through your dreams. Is that true? And so that was a moment that like that connection was there too of like him wanting to know more about everything that she's going through because she did have that last connection with Robin.
Yeah. So then we cut to the outside of a store and it's like a really, really fast scene. But basically what happens here is that Finn walks out, he hears the phone ringing, he picks it up, says, I can't help you, and then hangs it up. And then as he's walking away, the camera goes to the phone and you can see on like the handle, it says out of order. So this is this is like a callback to the first movie, right? Where the phone in the basement doesn't work, but he's still able to communicate with spirits through it.
Well, I think spirits want to communicate with him.
Right.
And that's his thing. So we're finding out now, this is the first, I guess, sign that he still has that ability to where he can have that medium. And obviously, again, to point out, that medium is through the phone. Like Finn never can have, he does not have visions like Gwen does. Gwen has the vision side, but he has the medium side of the phone. And up until this point, we didn't know that he was still able to do that. We just assumed at the end of the movie that it would stop, right? Because he's out of there. There's no more victims in there. But it seems like he has a lingering power that now he doesn't want to deal with because, again, like, of dealing with the trauma is going to come bring him back to where he was during that, low moment in his life.
Yeah. So then we cut. We're back at the winter camp again, filmed in Super 8. And we have another little boy. He's walking alone. And then this one, he gets got.
This one's the fire. No, this one's the fire one. The axe is the
last one?
Oh, no. Because... They show four. They show four of them. Yeah, this one's the axe. Okay,
this one's the axe.
Yeah, okay.
So, no, you're right. It is him being burned.
Yeah, the fire one.
You're right. I'm sorry. Basically, he sets this kid on fire. Yeah. We see the kid in the ice, just like the first one. He floats up. He writes a B and then sinks into the ice.
Which is next to the W. So
yes.
WB. So the other scratch is still on the ice.
Mm-hmm. And then Gwen wakes up and she walks up to a phone and then ends up walking outside. Gwen wakes up to the phone. She hears it ringing, but she doesn't walk to the phone. She just goes straight outside.
Yeah, and she ends up seeing the burned body on the grass in her front yard,
and it's chopped up, like the torso and the limbs are all chopped.
Yes, and so she freaks out. I think she even at one point steps in like the puddle of like blood
because later on she has
So she does that, and then from there she gets on her bicycle because she hears the phone ringing still.
Yeah,
and she follows it, which again to her she knows exactly where she needs to go. She goes to the grabber's house, which nobody's living there, is just abandoned at this point. She goes down the stairs. She ends up in the basement. She answers the phone, and we get the other end of it because it takes a second. And this is also the first time that she's actually experienced a phone call because again, in the first movie she did not. So she answers the phone, and we hear that it's Hope. It's the mom, and it's the exact verbiage that she used in the phone booth
in the opening scene.
Yeah, which is cool because the communication fits with what they're saying to each other.
Right.
So what what Gwen says to her is, who is this? And it's Hope, and she recognizes it's the mom, and then she's like, okay, well, what, why are you calling, and how did you get this number? And it was like, I saw the numbers carved in the ice. And it was these numbers, no area code, so it's local, right? So obviously the camp is near where they live. And so she ends up basically going through the same spiel as the opening sequence. And then the responses that Gwen has, again, mimic exactly how she responds and talks about, well, you had numbers, I had letters. And was in the ice, is this at this camp or in the mountains? And she's like, yes. So that's what she's responding to. But then as Gwen's trying to get more answers, that's when the cutoff happens. Hello? And like they're not able to hear, who is this? And then the phone disconnects. She doesn't get any signal. And then she hears a noise, and then appears the brother from the first movie, which he's the cop from Sinister, right? Is that the same guy?
I thought so too.
Yeah, he's the one. He just passed away recently.
He did. Yes, R.I.P.
Yeah, and he had in the first movie he got by the grabber because he's the grabber's brother. Because he found out at the last minute, like, oh my gosh, that's what he's been doing. I knew he was up to something, and then it was like, oh, I gotta end him, and so he axes him in the head. So he still has like the hatchet in his skull, and he's like, like, what did he say? I think he said something along the lines of like, you shouldn't be here,
something
or he's
like
coming
that,
down, blah blah blah. And then you hear the noise as if the grabber is going to come down.
The footsteps.
But then Super 8 fades, and it's actually, Finn waking her up. Which he's like, yeah, I followed you all the way here. I'm like, you didn't wake her up halfway there? Like, hey, man, I think I know where she's going. Listen, maybe not go there.
See, my whole thing is like, she was asleep and riding the bike.
Riding the bike, yeah. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's could you imagine sleep riding a bike and
I don't know how to ride a bike.
And then just like, and then you end up somewhere. You're like, how did I get here? What the? And then like Finn walked behind her. She's riding the bike. She looked like she was booking it. Like, dude,
yeah, I don't.
That's crazy. She goes up the stairs, and just to your point, this was the second cue. And again, I didn't catch a lot of this stuff when I first watched it because I was just sitting and enjoying the movie. But when she steps up on the first step to leave, she notices at that point that she has the gunk on her foot, which is the blood that she stepped in the front yard of the house.
Right.
So again, this is the second time that she's carried over something, this time physical, from her dream into the real world, but she again did not say anything about it, didn't mention it to Finn, didn't say anything, I think, to her, and this was again part of her dealing with her coming up in this movie was the fact that she didn't know how to fully express all of these things to anybody because she thought that it's a bad thing, right? Because the mom went crazy with it. She doesn't want to feel like she's crazy, yet she's seeing these things, and now she physically is bringing these things into the world. So it's kind of creepy that like that's a thing.
Yeah. The other thing to mention here is that when Finn wakes her up, Gwen tells him that she was talking to Hope.
To Hope, to Mom, and then she even, and I think even to him, he looked at the phone too, right? Because he was like, to him, he I guess maybe didn't even think that she could have that ability with, using the phone as the medium for somebody to talk to her.
Yeah. So then we cut and we're the next day, and then Gwen has a flyer for Alpine Lake Youth Camp. And she basically tries to convince Finn to get a job there as a camp counselor. He's like, nah, I'm okay. And then Dad walks in.
And then talks to them about it. And he's even skeptical about it too. He's like, you know how I feel about religion. And he's like, oh, that camp? Your mom used to work there. How did you hear about it?
And he says that it closed in 1958, so a year after Hope was there. But you're right. Just like you're saying, that he was really just like, what the heck? How did you find out about that?
Yeah. And then fast forward, they pretty much skip ahead to... it was brought up too that like, hey, Dad said you need to get a job this summer, and so it's a good way to earn money, I guess. I don't know how much money they're earning as counselors in training. They're not even counselors; they're counselors in training. Yeah. It's like, my thought would be they're the interns, so I don't think they get paid at all, but I guess they do get paid. But yeah, fast forward, they essentially like skip right ahead to it's going to be Gwen and what was his name again? I was Ernie. Basically loading up into his car, and then the dad's kind of giving him the what for, like, you're going to make sure you go the speed limit, and you're going to make sure you get my daughter back in one piece. And he's like sitting there talking with Finn. He's like, I don't trust him. I don't know. I don't like the way he looks. And then it comes to find out, like, at the last second, Finn has second thoughts. He's like, you know what? I'll go. He's like, wait. And he goes back into the house, and he packs his stuff. I thought this was a really cool moment, too. Again, I know I am sometimes a stickler for random things being in the background of things, like little teaser drops. But one of the first things that I really liked that they put in the movie, there was a movie poster on his wall where he was packing his bag, and it was said, "The thing that never dies." And so it's kind of setting up the idea that, again, the grabber is not fully dead, which is cool because, like, I think at this point too, this is like probably half an hour into the movie, maybe.
Yeah, we're a good portion in.
Yeah, we have not seen the grabber yet, other than that one like little wave, and then the what was implied with the footsteps in the basement. That was kind of cool that they kind of put that little nod in there with that movie poster. I thought that was really cool.
So then they basically end up at the camp. What's her name? Mustang leads them to the camp counselor.
Yeah, they're in a blizzard. The big thing is they're in a blizzard. They can't see. Finn runs them up the road so they can see, and then they let them in. And they even have like a long kind of montage of them driving with another Brick in the Wall playing by Pink Floyd, which is really cool. It's such a good song.
So then they kind of, you know, break out into whatever. The boys sleep in one cabin, Gwen in another one. It's basically setting up the next setting is what happens here. Then everybody goes to sleep, and then we get the Super 8 again, where we are at the... basically what happens here is we get the letter H.
This one is the axe. This one's the axe. And they show the axe one again a second time because there's one later on coming up in the closer to the third act where they, I think, fully flesh out the axe one, if I'm not mistaken. But so she has another dream. It's another victim. They do the H. I think this one's the small one. This one's the smallest of the three kids, I think. And so they do the H. So she has the full letters now, WBH, or at least that's what we have up to this point. And this is where I think Finn goes outside and is like smoking in the blizzard. I mean, it's brutal, like it's bad. We also get to make a point is that they're stuck there because they were like, hey, y'all were the only people we couldn't get a hold of. Haha, you're stuck here until this blizzard holds over. And of course, every horror movie trope, like you're stuck here for the next 3 days or something, right? They didn't give an exact day, but it's like the next couple of days it's going to be bad. Like roads and highways are closed. It's whatever. And so they're stuck there. But yeah, he's smoking out in the blizzard. As she's having this dream, they keep on cutting back and forth, and I believe this is where he gets his first phone call. Nothing, I don't think happens. I think he just hangs up, right? Like he does the same thing. Like
he picks it up. I can't help.
Hangs up and closes it. So he did get another phone call, and this is the same exact phone booth as the one from the beginning. It's right in front of the frozen lake. And it's also important to note that it is a telephone booth, and the lights are off, but every time the phone calls happen, the lights click on. So it's actually a really cool, I don't know how to explain it. It's just a really cool, boom, there's somebody trying to get in contact with you. Other than just the audio cue, there's also the visual cue now, which is nice. And the blizzard, especially with how dark it is outside.
Yeah. So then Gwen wakes up, in quotes.
Because it's in Super 8.
It's in Super 8, yeah. And there's I think she starts to hear noises or something like that.
Yes.
And she's and she's it's a bunk bed system. And she's trying to look under the one that's next to her, but can't really see anything until I think she climbs down to look under hers, right? And then this is where we get a jump scare. Wow! The dead kid.
Yeah. And then this is where I'm pretty sure, she sees all of the victims to start. She just kind of sees them because nothing really happens other than the grab. So she sees basically all the victims. They're just coming after her. They're not trying to hurt her or anything, I don't think.
They're closing in.
Yeah, they're closing in on her. So you have the first kid that I think was the one that was just, the normal knife. Then you had the burn victim, which when she gets back on the bunk, grabs her arm. Mm-hmm. And I think you even hear the sizzle. So the kid's hand is hot. Yeah. So we even see at that point there is kind of a little bit of hand print there. But she doesn't make mention of it until a little bit later. And then she hears noises at the window coom, coom. And then window moment happens. Something breaks through the window, comes in. And then in another window, there's another kid, which is the one from the axe, who's already kind of, I think, split a little bit. And then the window closes on it. And his head, gets cut in half, down vertically down the middle. And, half his face is just, on the floor. And the other half is just outside, just flailing. It's I don't know, it's crazy. I think this was one of the few things I didn't like about the movie. I thought with the Super 8, the CGI just didn't look as good here. There was other moments that looked a lot better. This was not one of their better moments, I thought. I thought it kind of looked cheesy, but I think it was just the combination of CGI and the Super 8 just didn't make it look as good as it could have been.
So while all of this is going on, Finn hears the phone ring again, and it's going constant. It's not doing the ring, 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 ring.
Yeah.
It's just going ring, 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 ring. And so then he goes and he picks it up, and it's the grabber that answers the phone. And so then the two of them are basically conversing here. What do you want? You know what I want. What I wanted from the beginning. I want to hurt you. That kind of stuff.
Well, no, it's this isn't that part yet.
Oh, never mind.
No. So this is his first encounter with him because there's 2 phone calls with him. This one is basically so you didn't think you're done with me, did
Oh,
you?
you're right.
Yes.
You're right.
And just kind of setting him up as like, hey, I'm still around.
Mhm.
And so he kind of just gets under Finn's skin a little bit, and he's like, gives him like very ominous things. He's like, I thought, hell would be hotter, but actually it's ice cold.
Mhm.
And, basically just, essentially
burns more.
the cold burns more. He just basically makes it very intimidating on him. And then that like leaves it at that. Like that's essentially like, I think maybe he mentioned something is like, I'm not done yet. And then basically he gets let out of the booth because he hears Gwen screaming.
Yeah.
So they run in. She's freaking out. He basically gets her from the cabin and he takes her to the male cabin,
Mhm.
which is where him and Ernesto are staying because they have to do split cabins per state law based off of camp because they could lose their license, which we find out later. And then she essentially just stays a night with them. She sleeps with Ernie. And in the same bunk, and then not too far down is where Finn is, and they have their own little conversation. Only thing that really comes up with that is just her praying to God, like, please don't let me have any other dreams. And Ernie's like, oh, you're religious? Oh, wow, that's gonna be so good for my parents. They're gonna be happy I'm dating somebody that's religious. And she's like, we're dating? And he's like, and then Finn like ruins it. He's like,
I kiss too.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
The other thing that we also get in this conversation, which we, the audience, already knew, but if you hadn't already, Gwen tells Ernie that she got her vision dreams from her mom.
From her mom, yes.
So then we cut to the next day, and Gwen tells Finn that Ernie basically knows everything that's going on. And then Mondo comes and interrupts the conversation. Mondo
is the counselor.
Owner?
He's like the owner, yes. He's
like the owner. So as far as like the structure of the camp goes, Mondo's the owner. He employs Mustang, who's a younger girl, probably in like her 20s or
kind of runs runs like the stables and like basically in charge of a lot of the maintenance and things around.
Right, and then there's
Barbara and
it's
Barbara.
Two other people.
Yeah, it's Barbara and her husband. I forget the husband's name, but basically maybe it's Keith or something. I don't remember.
I don't know.
But basically they're the like bookkeepers / like they do a lot of the
day-to-day kind of
stuff. They're kind of the office workers essentially.
Right.
And so but Mondo basically talks to them and gives them, just kind of talks to them. So they're having the conversation in the morning with Mondo about, like just everything going on with the, like how, like them being there and stuff and how, why nobody else was there and like why, is there anybody else coming? And everybody's like, no, dog, like you're the only ones here, y'all stuck here.
Yeah.
And then Mondo starts asking the question. He's like, what do you say? He's like, I'm going to ask the $20,000 or $52,000 question as if like that's what they're getting paid. I was like, they ain't getting paid that much in the 80s as a counselor in training. But he just is like, so why did y'all want to be here? And he kind of looks at them. And he first looks at Ernie because they talk in Spanish a little bit prior. And because he asked him about the tattoos, hey, where'd you get those tattoos? He's like, oh, I got them in prison. And he's like, oh, and it was like a long time ago. And then, but he looks at Ernie first, and he's like, in Spanish, he's like, leave me out of it, like, don't ask me. And so they look at the other two, and he knows because he kind of like prods on them, like, hey, so what is your real reasoning for being here? And it's and he knows, like, he's like, what the answer they give him is not true. It's like, oh, what did they say? We're like,
I forget what their reasoning was, but it was some BS that teenagers came up with.
Yeah, like, we heard it's a great place and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, really? He's like, because y'all didn't list any churches and you've never been enrolled here. So, like, how did you really know?
Yeah.
And that's when they bring up, like, oh, my mom was a counselor here. Do you remember her? Oh, there's so many people. I don't know. Like, oh, well, if she worked here, she would have a name. And they're like, oh, we don't know. But they're like, here's a picture. And he, like, recognizes her. It's like, oh, that's Starlight.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're Starlight's kids? Wow, that's crazy. So the whole back and forth is, like, he knew her. And she was, like, a big, positive, person in that community.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, what happened to her? Because you said was. And it's like, oh, she's dead. Oh, how did she die? I'm sorry. And it's like, oh, she took her own life. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. This is awkward. But essentially, yeah, just kind of tells them that, yeah, like that's, you know, kind of how it goes. And then he had mentioned to them like, hey, you know, we could lose our license if you stay in the same cabin again. You cannot do that anymore. Like, please don't do that. And then they just go about their ways.
A couple other things in this conversation. They ask about the payphone, and then Mondo tells them that it doesn't work.
Oh, it hasn't worked in years. What did he say? No, he just said something funny. Yeah, he's like, hasn't worked. He said that thing's deader than disco. I was like, that's a good line right there.
And then the other one is that Finn says that he was talking to the grabber on the phone, and then it starts to ring again. But when they go, so then we cut to them picking up the phone, and it's not the grabber. It's one of the boys on the other line. And he's basically, it's the whole thing of like, now Finn is being drawn into this, right? Where he's like, the boys are like, hey, we need help. I don't know where I'm at, XYZ.
Oh no, they say we shouldn't be here, is what they say. We shouldn't be here. This is not where we're supposed to be. You're right. And it's them like, I like the shot how they do. And I really like the decision to put the telephone instead of being, you know, in the wall and the confinement. They're in like the complete opposite. Like this is wide open space, all white because of the blizzard, the giant frozen lake right behind them, and they're just standing on like what we I'm gonna assume perceive as like the little bit of land left before the actual lake. And they're just like 360ing this thing, and you can see the boys like slowly there just standing staring at him. And then I think at one point is it this one where they're hitting they're hitting the thing, right?
I don't know if it's this one yet. It might be.
I can't remember. Finn just kind of freaks out because he's like, well, I don't get it. Like, you know, I can't help you. I don't know what you want. But yeah, it's the kids basically trying to explain to him. One thing I will point out, and it's going to come up here later in a later phone call. One of the notes I had that I really enjoyed directionally with this movie was this idea that the dead, like especially that have not been able to pass on, are stuck in this purgatory. Especially with what we have been, I guess, conditioned to experience in ghost hunter tapes and movies and things like that, where a lot of times when these ghosts and these things are trying to interact with the world, they're stuck in a loop. They're stuck in they're always saying similar things, right? Oh yeah. And so I thought it was really cool that again they're still stuck in this like, I shouldn't be here. Like they can't really fully get out what they want to get out. They're just stuck in this mantra of like this loop of like, I'm stuck, I need to get out, but they can't fully communicate what they need. And that's like I think the bad part with Finn's ability sometimes is that it doesn't always flesh out the way that you would want it to, and he can't get always the information he needs. Sometimes he has to kind of infer like what they're saying, and then eventually they'll get it out if he waits long enough. But again, they get stuck in this loop, which happens later. And it happened again with the mom and the other conversation. I thought that was kind of cool that, yes, they were interacting with each other, but that same conversation happens later in a different phone call, and it's the same exact verbiage, and it works out the same exact way with the ghost too, and I thought that was kind of cool.
So then we cut over back home, where that conversation ends. And then we cut over back to the house where Dad is at, and he's on the phone with somebody, and he's like, oh, hey, the storm will be over soon, XYZ, I need to call in a favor. So, and the person that he's talking to owns a plow truck, so now we get like the seed that he's going to show up at the campus.
Yeah, and I at first, I think part of it too, yes, he wanted to save his kids, but I also think he was concerned because there was a beer commercial that happened, and so another major point was he was a alcoholic. Yes. And he had substance abuse in the first movie because of, again, come to find that I think he was very just depressed with just losing his wife, having to deal with the kids, things like that, and then having to deal with the daughter, Gwen, who he could see was having these visions, and again, at one point was abusive because he just did not want her to go down that same path and didn't know how to cope with it. Yeah. And another reflection of that is that in this movie, it's kind of you can see that Finn is kind of taking that mantle, unfortunately, with trying to push away these powers and steer them away, but also understanding that Finn is now the one with substance abuse, that he's, in dealing with, smoking, marijuana, the devil's lettuce, as Mondo puts it later. But not only that, but then also the whole, again, anger issues, having to deal it, but instead of dealing it on his family, he's dealing it on unsuspecting people that he encounters in the real world, you know.
Yeah. So then we cut over to Gwen, and she goes and talks to the other two bookkeeper people, basically asking for history about the place. Oh, there's nothing written, and then she becomes an angsty teen.
Yeah, because Barb's a jerk to her because she knows, like, oh, this is the girl that slept with the boys or whatever. And then it was like and then she tried to like throw some scripture at her, and then she flipped it with the same scripture.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember this part though?
Like,
and then like they're just going back. Yeah, they're just going back and forth. But yeah, she wants to get history. They don't have history. She's like, this isn't a library. What is it? This is a museum. This is a camp. We just have a brochure. Like, and so then they end up leaving. Whatever. And then it again pretty much pans fast forward, and then it's pretty much nighttime again.
And we get Super 8 again. Gwen.
Is having her Super 8, and this is, I think, a really cool moment because this one is interesting because she leaves her cabin because I think she hears the phone ring, but it's not her on the phone, it's the mom on the phone. So now she's seeing the mom's perspective of her on the phone with somebody else. And she is having, this is where I was pointing out, she is having the same exact conversation with a victim that she had with Gwen earlier. So again, stuck in that ghost in a loop, and they can only they regurgitate the same things. They can't get out of this purgatory that they're in. And again, it's kind of cool with the back and forth. This one I thought was probably one of the better ones, with the victims being seen on what happened. So this one, it's a boy running into the forest, or I guess two boys, and Gwen, instead of just staying with the mom, because the mom ends up, again, eventually like, I can't, hello, hangs up. She takes off. Gwen follows the boy into the woods, which I'm like, girl, this is like crazy. At this point, too, I think, I forgot what Finn is doing, because Finn ends up he's about to answer the phone ring. Yeah, he hears the phone ring, but he's not outside quite yet. Yeah, so he hears the phone again, and so he wakes up from the cabin to go outside, but this time he takes Ernesto outside. So at this point again, she runs into the woods to go see what's going on. Before we get to Finn getting to the phone, we see the victim, and the reason I like this one is because, like, we know that the victim is getting hit by the axe as well, but this one, she's running in the snow, but then the snow effect turns into, like, you can see the snow getting thickened, and like it's falling on her, only to find that that's not actually snow that's falling, it's the feathers of this parka jacket that essentially is getting axed. And then the white puffs start turning into red because, again, he was hit with an axe, and so there's a mixture of it. And then she sees on the stump that's where the body was chopped.
Is this where the stump starts, like, gushing blood?
Yes, this is where the stump starts gushing blood. So she is seeing this. As that's happening, then we pan back to the phone booth in not Super 8, and it's Ernesto and him and Finn, and Finn's like, hey, do you hear that? And Ernesto's like, you don't have to answer that. So I'm guessing Ernesto can now hear the phone. He's not going to answer it, but he can also hear it. The sister, again, wakes up in another dream, follows the second kid. She follows the second kid in the mess hall in the kitchen.
Yeah. So
she eventually wakes up. So we realize where she followed this kid after watching her mom was one of the visions, but then again, just like Inception, she is a dream within a dream. She wakes up again, still in the dream state, but this time, like I said, follows another kid to the mess hall. While they're doing that, I think that's when Finn is having the second go ahead with the grabber.
Yeah.
And this is where he kind of really starts going to town with his lines. Ethan Hawke, man, is so good. He's very limited in this movie until the like second and third act. But, like, dude, he just delivers lines so well. His voice is so good when he's doing, like, that sinister, like, I'm gonna mess with you voice. I like his voice, how it blends in with the phone when they're doing the audio from the phone, how you get that different voiceover. At this point, Ethan Hawke's also, like, pacing around the phone booth as he's talking to Finn. Like, Finn is trying to talk mad garbage to him about, like, blah, 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 I've already dealt with you. And he's like, you don't understand, Finn. Like, he's like, like what you did to me, like, you know, like he dropped some really good lines. I also like cool, you know, the evolution of the mask that he has. Like you can see the ice like just on there, caked on there. You can see the top of his head is like decaying. It's kind of like Jason-esque, has like a little bit of decay at the top. You're not getting a full glance at his hands and other things too, but it definitely, you can tell that he's been there. He talks about, you know, like just hell and like the things he's been going through, and then he mentions to Finn, because Finn's like, you know, I've already beaten you once, and he's like, no, I'm gonna take everything from you.
Yeah.
And he's trying to explain to him, like, Finn, he's like, you know, Finn's trying to tell him, like, you know, you're not gonna scare me, but he's like, no, you. And he explains to him why he's upset. He's like, I'm upset because you made me lose the one thing that I cared about most, which was my brother, and you made me have to hurt him, and it was because he didn't want his secret to get out. Which again was his fault. Like he was the one that did it, but neither here nor there. So and as we're going through this, we're also getting a pan back and forth between this phone call and Gwen going into the mess hall, where she light spooky clicks on at the end of the mess hall into the kitchen. She goes into the kitchen. The ovens open up and the flames shoot out, and so we can tell she's about to be in trouble, and she's just following along. She has no other reason not to. And that's when we get the culmination of, he's like, since you made me lose the thing that I love most, I'm gonna take the thing that you love most. And that's when we hear the scream from Gwen, and it's obviously he's going after the sister, not going after him, because he's like, I don't need to go after you, I need to go after her, because that's gonna hurt you the most. And so that's when we get the full intent. And I really liked too, I had put this, the when they switched from the phone audio to the live voice audio, when it goes to like from the phone to him directly speaking to him, like face to face across the like glass, and he's like basically revealing like, no, I'm going after, you know, what you love, you know what it is now. And so and when his last line was the best one, fear is just the warm-up. Well, did he say that or somebody said that? Fear is just the warm-up. I forgot who dropped that line. I think he did.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I was like, that's so good. And then yeah, so he essentially, that's when we get the line of, hey, he tells Ernesto, you need to go follow my sister, go find her. So he's running around trying to find her.
He wakes up Mondo and everybody else.
Yeah, he wakes up Mondo and them, and they're like, what are you doing, dude, it's late at night? And they're like, can't find Gwen, and they hear the scream, so they run to the mess hall. And then that's when they see, I love this thing too, when she finally sees the grabber, he like appears out of like the literal shadows, like he just fades in. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. And this is where the Super 8 does a good job, because it can like really mask the blend in because of how grainy it is. I was like, oh, that's such a good one. And we see like his full thing. He like goes at her silently, right? He doesn't really say much.
He has an axe in one hand and a belt.
Hatchet. He has a small hatchet. It's like a hatchet, and then he has the belt. Yeah, the belt, which is his two weapons of choice from the first one. Like he physically sits in a chair with his belt in the first one. That's the big one to note. Which I put on there. I was like, great weapon choice. Like, and then this is where, dude, Gwen is just getting tossed like crazy. Like he's like, well, first he like just swings at her, and she's somehow like missing, and then she eventually gets like cut on her arm, I think, and then she gets sliced on her arm a little bit
with the hatchet.
Yeah, the hatchet, and then from there, I think that's when everybody runs in. Because she's like freaking out. She's like, or she's getting choked on the ground. Yeah. And I think, this might be where he says, fear is just the warm-up. I think that's where he drops this line.
Maybe.
Yeah. And so, yes, I think this is where he drops the line, because he wants to like rile her up, because we're going to get to where we think he's getting his power from. But essentially, he's throwing her around, and everybody's seeing this. Like, everybody's physically seeing her, like, flying. We get their point of view where you can't see the grabber. First of all, I want to see what the grabber's perspective was, because just the stuff he was doing. Like, I just imagine her, like, doing, like, 360s. Like, was he picking her up and just doing...
I think so. It was insane. He's doing, like, WWE.
Like, yeah, but, like, she's spinning, like, helicopter style. He, like, throws her across the table, and, like, Barbara's freaking out. She's like, "Jeez, my ass!" Like, and so I just thought that was crazy. And then I guess people start trying to step in to help her because she's about to get thrown in the oven. Like, they're dragging her in the air, and like the ovens are full blast, flames kicking out, and like everybody's like, "Oh, grab her!" And they start trying to grab her, and he just flings all these different like pots and pans out there, and Barb gets hit with the cast iron skillet, just donk. And I'm like, dude, what? I'm like, you'd be KO'd. Like, that's there's no like, oh, I just took a little bonk. Like, that was, I mean, it was thrown. It wasn't even like gentle. I thought that was pretty funny. And then we essentially at that point get the ending of that. I think that's when he realizes. Finn walks in, and then he essentially like sees them that, okay, I've done what I needed to do, and then he literally like fades into the darkness. Back into the corner. Yeah, he like slides. He like slides, doesn't he? He like, yeah, he almost like they're pulling like a rug, and he's just sliding back, and he just fades. Yeah, he fades. It's so cool. Oh, it's such a cool moment. Like, cause it's just like, it's like just, I don't know. I don't think I've seen that in a long time where I'm like, that is awesome how they just brought them in and brought them out. Like, he just kind of, he'd in and he'd into the wind. Like, it was great.
Yeah. So then he basically cut to the next day. They're all in the church now, where they're asking Gwen about her dreams, right? Basically, like, what's going on? What do you see? And she's saying that she sees the boys, she's seeing... Sorry, she tells them about the boys she's been seeing, and how, like, basically they think that they're the ones who were got.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that, like, I think Barbara tries to snuff it again. Like, we don't talk about that stuff. We didn't talk about it. And then I think she mentioned something. She keeps on spouting off stuff because even Mondo's like, I don't know if I can explain anything from what I've seen in my years being on this world, like what I saw like right now, like just seeing you. And he's like, I don't think that was, the devil. I think that was something else. And then that's when we get the realization. She mentions, I saw the boys, and I saw the one with the jean jacket and the fire. Because she mentions, I saw the one with the stump. That was the one she mentioned first. And then, I saw the one in the fire, the denim jacket. And that's when it clicks to Mondo. He's like, hold up. He's like, how did you know that? And he's like, what do you mean? And she's like, how did you know? And she's like, I saw it. He was, put in the ovens in his denim jacket. And he said, only 3 people know that, and it was the police that investigated, me, and the previous owner. So he's like, there's no way you can know that unless, something else. And he's like, they showed me, like, they're showing me how, like, they want to be found. Yeah. And that's when we get the whole explanation of Mondo's, like, I bought the camp for pennies. My mission is to find these kids because they meant a lot. This is why we closed down. We got a bad rap because of that. We had to shut down.
He really wants to help the families.
Yeah, want to help the families. Yeah, he said he could not let that, it's just weighing on him.
Yeah.
And then that's when, I forget, she mentions that, this is the whole reason why we actually came to this camp, because those kids have been talking to me. They carved letters in the ice. I think something, was going on. And then for whatever reason, he mentioned, he grabs the photo. They have a bunch of photos in this chapel, and it's ones from the different years of the camp, and it's all the counselors and the staff. And he's looking at it, and he gives it to them, and he mentions, this is the last photo we took before we shut down.
I think because it also has hope in it.
Yeah.
That's one of the first people that they point out.
Yeah, it's this is your mom, this was the year before it shut down, and they showed them, and that's when Finn takes a look at it, and he sees and he recognizes, wait, that's him. This is also brought up too, that I think he had mentioned that he's the grabber. It kind of have come up that he knows the grabber, and he's like, how do you know that's him? And it's because he's like, I saw him, I was him. And even Mustang's like, holy heck, this is getting crazy. So you're seeing these dead kids, and you were the one that took out the grabber. And he's like, yes, that's him. And which I guess, did they not realize that was him? I guess not. I guess they never revealed that was him.
But this is also when they mentioned the letters, right? And it's
WBH were the initials, and they're like Wild Bill, Harkin, I think is what they said, and or Harlequin. It's a weird H. Anyways, I'm not going to dwell on that. But that's when it all the pieces finally hit, right? This was the grabber, and that's when it clicks to everybody. Gwen, I think, makes the point. This was where he first started. This is where his first kills were. This is how it started, and those were his first victims. So now they need to figure out how to get it going, and then Mondo kind of agrees, like, yes, I think you were not possessed by the devil. I think this is a gift of God, and we need to use this power. You were brought here to help me lay this to rest for the family. So he's like, all right, at dawn, we're getting started, and we're gonna go fishing. We're gonna go find them, because they know that they're probably in the frozen lake, and that's when it clicks to them too. Like, he would have had access to the ice in the lake. He did the ice rink for hockey games, and he was a great skater. That's another drop.
That, yeah.
But he had the equipment to do the fishing holes, so he would have been able to cut holes in the ice to dump the bodies, which they didn't think of because it was frozen over, so nobody in a million years thought that they would be in the lake.
Yeah. The other thing that we mentioned here is they basically realize in all of this going on is that the grabber had returned to that camp because he feeds off the energy from the lost.
Yeah, and or at least that's what their assumption is
right.
Like, that's what we think, that his spirit was free to come back here, and they're giving him that power to stay there and wreak havoc. Because they even said, they're like, when did y'all notice, funny, because it was Mustang, she's like, don't act like y'all never had creepy things go on while you're here. And I think they asked, when did that start? And they were like 1982, and that's when it clicks with the Finn taking him out, because he's like, that's when I took him out. Like, so it started, all the camp nonsense started right after he was taken out by Finn, which is kind of cool. Like, they kind of like just immediately pieced it like to where it just went right into the next thing.
Yeah. So then we cut, and Mondo is in his office. It's nighttime. He's reading his Bible, and in there he has three Polaroids of three pictures, of the three victims. And he's kind of doing his whole praying thing. There's like he has a ham radio or a radio right next to him, and it makes like a noise, which prompts him to look outside. And outside there's this creepy ass snowman right in the field or whatever, in the yard. So then he goes back to whatever he's doing. The radio goes off again, and it's the grabber's voice that comes through, and he says, "You made me kill my brother. My name is not Bill." And then
again, stuck in a loop. That's another phrase. He's stuck in that, "You made me kill my brother." And then the Bill part, I guess we didn't catch until that's when he brings up the thing again. He's like, "Wow, Bill." He's like, "I know what you did."
This
like
is Mondo talking.
Yeah, Mondo talking. He's trying to communicate to him, and he's like getting angry. He's like, "My name's not Bill," and like talking to him, and then I can't remember if it's a snowball that hits first, but like we start seeing it. Mask.
It's the head of the snowman.
Oh, it's the head of the snowman, like, barrels to the thing, and it leaves an imprint that looks like the mask for the grabber. Yeah. And it even starts slowly turning red as the conversation's going on. Like, it's getting more and more, like, intense. Like, dude, this is cool. I like that.
I did like that, too.
But yeah, it's basically Mondo trying to, like, state to him, like, and I think he even says in there, "You're not gonna take them from me."
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So then after that's done, we cut to the next morning. Again, we see Finn smoking the devil's lettuce, and Mondo said, "That's not allowed here." Yeah. They basically have a conversation here where Mondo like tells Finn, like, it's not okay to hold your feelings in. Like, that's not an okay thing to do.
Or like just in general too, like I can tell you're angry, you're handling it the wrong way, and he's like, "That's how I ended up in jail and things like that.
Yeah.
I've lived down that dark path," and he's like, "You need to basically, like you're saying, let it out, let it go. You need to be able to move on and process everything." And he thinks he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I am," and he's like, "No, you're not." And then he takes
he confiscates his contraband.
Yeah.
So then basically now we are at like the butt crack of dawn. And they're starting to clear out the snow from the lake, and that takes all day. Then we cut to nighttime, where Gwen is falling asleep, and Finn...
and they're taking turns. Finn and Ernesto are taking turns watching shifts watching Gwen, because they do not want her getting up and creating chaos. The downside, though, is that this one is pretty fun, because this is the dream within a dream within a dream watching. Basically, Gwen is now dreaming of her mother dreaming, which we don't know yet. We follow this kid that's on a paper route, and he's wearing like an old school, I think like Buffalo Bills jacket or something, which is weird because they're in Colorado. But basically he is throwing newspapers, and then cut to again eventually after the montage he sees the van, and he sees the abracadabra van, and then the balloons cover him, and he gets taken, and his bike gets left or whatever, and then that's when the mom wakes up, and we see that Gwen is watching her mom wake up in the bed of their house, their old house.
Yeah.
The mom is looking at the dad. He's dead asleep. She gets up, she puts on her clothes, and she goes outside, and he follows her. She makes her way down eventually to a house that looks very familiar. It is the grabber's house. His van's on the outside again. In the 15 years he was doing all the grabbing, I'm surprised nobody thought to check the creepy abracadabra van. But she is about to go to the front door. She stops. She goes to the side. She looks through the window, and I think she does see the victim, right? She sees the kid. And then she realizes, like, oh my gosh, like, this is the grabber. And I think I can't tell if she knew who it was based off the house, or once she saw him when he basically grabbed her. But essentially, instead of being able to just leave freely, she's about to leave, and the grabber comes and does his, chloroform cloth and balloons and throws her in the back of his van. And this is still a younger version of him. We see his younger, I don't know what actor played him, but super skinny, thin. He's a magician, right? That was his cover. So super young magician with the weird white face paint and the top hat. He goes in the van, and Gwen, I think, is yelling, right? She's screaming to get help, but it's one of those dreams where you can't really get anything out. And then the van opens up again, and then out steps the current grabber, decayed and all. And I can't remember if he's wearing a smiling mask or if he's wearing I like how his mask still changes. It's something they keep from the first one, but he basically creepily calls her over, beckons her forward and has her go in the van, which again she has no choice. She just goes in the van, and then we have a pretty little short, I guess, conversation between him and her. She sees the mom passed out on the van floor. She sees the young one driving, and then she's talking to him in his decayed form, and they just have a conversation about what are you doing? Why are what is going on? And I think he kind of tells her what does he say? He's I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I want to give you the truth. And he's this is the least that I can do. And she's what do you mean? And so essentially what we get is him opening the van. She gets out, and then we see the mom hanging from the garage, which obviously we know that's probably her taking her life. But now we can see that it was revealed that's not the case. It was actually the grab her that took her out, because he found out, and she knew who he was, so she could easily identify. So he had to take her out, but he did it in a way where it wouldn't create any potential pushback on him. It didn't look like an actual murder. It looked like a homicide. It looked like a suicide.
Right.
And we get the dad coming in and freaking out, and her seeing that she is physically seeing what the dad experienced that night that he found her when they were still asleep.
He also drops the line from Dante's Inferno, abandon all hope, ye who enter here.
And this is where he also describes hell. He's and how he's this is where, so he shows her this, and she's kind of obviously upset. And she's oh my gosh, it wasn't, it was you are the one that did this. She wasn't the one that took her own life. And then this is where he turns sour really fast, and he's describes, he's hell, takes all the humanity from you and leaves the worst parts. And so he's trying to explain this is why I'm gonna do what I'm about to do. And he goes, I'm curious if you die here, if I kill you here, will you die in real life? And he signifies that he's aware that of the dream world and that he has power there, but he doesn't know the true extent of it. So he's also trying to get a feel for how much he can do. And I thought that it was really interesting that this is the first time they refer to it as a realm. He's I don't know, this realm. So her visions are one thing, but now it seems these visions are also a connection point between the living and the dead, or at least the living and the dead that are in purgatory, which I think is really cool, because we don't I mean, the last time we see that, like you said, is Nightmare Before Elm Street, and I don't even think that was truly the case. We just thought Freddy, that was his power, versus this is like, no, there is a whole realm of, I guess, entities that could potentially do this, which is kind of cool, but only she's able to access it.
Let me see.
And this is pretty much like gets us into the last push before the third act, right? He chases her, basically.
Hits her with an axe. She starts bleeding.
Yeah, he chases her, hits her with the axe. She's bleeding in her arm, and they're starting to see that. I think this is the part 2.
She's chasing her around.
Yeah, the house.
And they end up at
his house. She goes in the basement. She gets one of the phone calls. She answers it, and then I'm trying to remember.
Robin?
I think it's Robin, yeah. And Robin like tells her, what does he say? Like, you need to go.
You need to fight back or something.
Yeah, fight back, or you need to hide. And so she essentially does the same escape plan that Finn tried to do in the first one, which is there's a hole in the wall where there's a freezer, and she's trying to bust open the freezer to get out, but it's like, in the first one it was locked, like he could not get past it. And so the same thing with her. I think that's where he hits her with the axe, because
I think you're
she's stuck.
Yeah.
And so she is basically trying to fight back. We get another crazy part where, again, they're trying to help, her, and she's basically like is in bed bleeding. She floats up. She slams against the top bunk. So boom, and then like again, I don't know what he's doing, but like she's like getting cut, and he's messing with her. He does like a 1260 spin, like barrel roll, and is like flinging like the cut gash, just blood. So I was like, dude, this is crazy work. The fact that she didn't have a concussion after all this is insane. But yeah, it's basically Finn and them trying to like help her. I think Mustang's maybe in there too, and they're trying to like keep her like from alive, because they ended up putting her down at the beginning of the dream sequence to like, oh, if you don't get up, it's fine. But didn't realize that doesn't do anything. And so eventually she gets out of the freezer. The freezer door opens, and it's actually, instead of the other house, it's the lake, and it's the boys that let her in.
Right.
And so they close the door on him, and this is where he, I guess, realizes, the grabber, that like, oh, that they're in connection, they're in cahoots, like they're gonna work together to take them away. So now we pan to kind of, it's a split. It's kind of Super 8, and then it's not Super 8, it just depends on the perspective at the time. But essentially it pans to her seeing Mondo at the lake, still working to try to retrieve the kids, victims, and then she sees the grabber behind him, and he mentions like, you're trying to take the only thing that's giving me power to be here in this domain. He's like, if you're going to take this away from me, I cannot allow that. And essentially like as Armando's hitting the ice, he's right behind him also hitting the ice, and like making it to where it's going to crack, and Armando's going to fall into the lake. Which does happen, and again, same thing. She can't really communicate to him that's happening. And I think at this point, does she? No, that's later. She's not in the phone booth here. That's later. But yeah, she basically. Wait, no, she's in the phone booth. Yeah, she's in the phone booth here.
Yeah. She ends up in the phone booth.
And
this is where we get the spinning, because he wraps.
Oh, he wraps the cord of the phone around. Yeah, that's how she was spinning. That's right. And she does like this, and they're like
becomes like a Beyblade. Yeah,
like a Beyblade. But yeah, no, he is in the phone booth trying to like take her out. But yeah, Armando falls in the ice, and essentially this is where Finn's trying to tell her to fight back, and this is where she has her epiphany moment of, well, if he has power in this dream state, I do too. And I think there were some people that disliked this part. They were like, oh my gosh, this is dumb. She just happens to have power, But I would almost attribute this to like almost like The Shining, right? Like The Shining in the Stephen King universe, where all these kids have these different variable powers that they can have against like supernatural things. And I kind of almost like related to that, and that's why I really appreciated watching it the second time. And after watching, Derry, have you watched that yet?
Yes,
it was so good. Yeah, and like, dude, it's just I thought it was fine. I know it's kind of cheesy at the moment, but like if you're willing to accept the Stephen King universe Shining, you should be willing to accept this, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but she basically goes Stranger Things and like busts the
payphone explodes.
Yeah, she like mind bends it, and then I think he falls right back, and he's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And then she breaks out of the thing, right? I don't think she does anything to him quite yet, but she just essentially like breaks out of the spell and like knows that she has power there too, and I think that's when she wakes up right at that point.
I think so, yeah. She wakes up and because she leads them to Mondo.
To go help him, save him, whatever.
Yeah, because he's hanging on the edge of the ice.
And he's like basically almost, I mean, yeah, it's
barely alive.
Yeah.
And then, let's see. So then Mustang tells the other people the news, like the two other people. Then we get to Gwen, and she's walking off into the forest or whatever. Finn follows her, and then this is where Dad shows up with the flower. And then they have this is basically like you're coming home with us. No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna stay here. You don't know what I'm going through. Yes, I do.
And they have like the way the camera is. This one, again, I get where they're going. I can see it being a little cheesy. And this was one of the complaints from a lot of people that I saw, was that they felt as though the struggle of what they were going through, like all their different like struggles, weren't fleshed out enough. So it felt like this scene should have been a culmination of it, but we didn't get enough of Finn, right? Of Finn's dilemma, right? They just said it just kind of happened in extremes. Like he would just have all these extreme like moments, but never any like more insight to his PTSD. And then obviously you were complaining about the actor or actress of the sister for Gwen, and she just kind of same thing. She just kind of like, you know, she just is in extremes too. She just like is trying to act like she's going crazy, which she was. I mean, essentially, I thought one of her outbursts was pretty good, like when she's really stressing. But yeah, they're having their standoff of like basically calling each other out for everything that's going on. And so it's her basically dropping the truth bombs, right? Like she's telling, you know, Finn will, you know, because Finn is basically agreeing with the dad. He's like, no, let's just go. I'll pack up right now. We'll just leave. And she's like, no, this is what you're doing. You're trying to hide from it, and you're not dealing with it, and you have, you know, or like you're just trying to ignore everything when you shouldn't be. And then he said the same thing with the dad. It's like, Dad, you don't even, you know, acknowledge that things are going on. You're just basically like, choosing to ignore everything, head in your sand, and just kind of like living through life, and you're not, you know, helping us all get through the stuff. You're just ignoring everything. And he's like, and you know, mentioned the substance abuse from the brother, and then it was a whole thing. And then she just had made the mention of like, no, we need to be here, we need to do this. And this is where we get the other truth bomb of like, I know, you know, that mom didn't you know, take her life.
Yeah.
And this is where she gives them the information that she knows and what the dad, and tells her exactly what he said that night. And she's like, it wasn't her, it was the grabber. And then it starts all clicking, right? He's like, oh man, maybe I had this whole bad span of life for nothing, because it was actually a murder, not a, you know, whatever. But anyways, they decide to stay.
They decide to stay and basically help what's going on. So then we cut to the next morning. Again, they're going back to clearing the water from snow, and Gwen starts praying. We hear, you know, her over the shot. Then we cut to nighttime, and Gwen's falling asleep on the plow. I think this is where we really start to get to the climax of the movie.
I mean, this is the third act. This like this last lake scene is the third act.
So she wakes up and she can see everybody, like everything that's going on. She wakes up outside of her body. It's more of a lucid dream at this point. And she sees basically the grabber starting to skate towards her, where this is where like he has the axe and he's coming like that. And this is a reference to another movie that I can't remember what it is, because it's a not popular one from what I understand, but it's you know, they basically took it shot for shot, where he's approaching, emerging from the mist.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And so basically here.
We just essentially we get them trying to.
Wait.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, they find one of the boys before this. I think
they might have found it in the first Armando one potentially. Yeah, because they have him out of the ice.
Right.
So they're just trying to find the other two. And
right,
they're trying to find the other two. Because they're having a harder time with finding the other two. I think it's because this one is deeper and they're like stuck lower, and so they have to, you know, get wedged out.
So the reason why they couldn't find the bodies, the other reason is because they were also in barrels.
Yeah.
That they had. I'm assuming that the grabber put with enough
weights to keep it down.
Keep it down.
And so yeah, so they're trying to find it, whatever. Everybody's helping, from the dad to Mustang to all them. Although Mustang was watching Gwen, even though she falls asleep on the job. And so we get the grabber, and his first victim is literally the what is it? The husband from Barbara.
Yeah.
He just like hooks him. Like, what is it? I was almost like saying Texas Chainsaw Massacre style from his shoulder, and just drags this man across this ice for
He's
like
doing like figure eights.
Yeah, figure eights, and he's just like, ah, like what the, and everybody. It was funny. I think somebody mentioned like, bro, nobody's doing anything to help this man. And then eventually, yeah, he's doing his thing, and then somehow I forget if he clips. No, he like clips her and like front flips her, right? Like basically Barbara. Oh, he doesn't he run him into Barbara's feet? Is what happens?
No, I think he
no, he grabs her with the belt. He grabs and like flips her, and she like front flips and wham, like slams her face, bloody nose, busted. And I'm like, everybody put like Barbara and the husband are just there for comedic relief because they're just getting destroyed, and like they're not adding very much to anything in this movie other than like a couple one-liners.
Yeah.
Like what did she say in the church? What is it with this family and cursing? Like that's like, dude. Yeah. So he's going to town. The dad now starts seeing like the ice skating, like the different like his skate sliding, which is kind of cool.
Yes. So sorry. Right before Barbara gets smashed, they find the other boy in the water.
Yeah, they find the other boy in the water.
Yes, and then what you're saying is that the dad sees the ice get kicked up, right?
And so he can see, and this is where now we're seeing that the grabber with this power is physically able to like really manipulate things other than just what we've normally seen, and he's physically interacting with the environment, which is kind of cool. I also can't tell because again I didn't pause it. I'm sure I could have, but did it look like to you that his feet were frozen solid and it was the blade stuck in his feet that he was ice skating on? It almost seemed like that, which I'm like, if it is, that's really cool. Like instead of just having like ice things, like he has blades stuck in his frozen ice feet and he's like just skating on his feet.
I didn't see, but that'd be pretty cool.
I think that's what it was. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but like I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I was like, man, that is such a cool design. Like that's crazy. And then so then we get the big thing was since they got the second kid, he was up, but they also have this spool wire that pulls it out. Well, the grabber sees that and he like flings it back into the water, so that's gonna drop everything back in, and then they're gonna be hard to find because the current. Well, it's a lake, I guess it'll stay somewhere, but they're gonna have to find it. It's gonna be harder to find.
It's dark.
Yeah, because it's dark. So this is where in her dream state, Gwen decides to jump in the water to help fish out the kids. So she jumps in, and I guess she has infinite breath oxygen supply in the dream world because she's down there for like a good 10 minutes. Yeah. But she basically goes down there and helps kind of kick the barrels so that they get dislodged and float up so they're easier to grab. And this is also the point where when the spool goes in, I think the dad also jumps in to help get it. And she sees that. So I think at one point, like the grabber or somebody was gonna mess with them, and she kind of helps stop that nonsense.
The other thing is that when Gwen jumps in the water, we see her physical, real life body, and it gets drenched.
Yeah, it gets drenched, and it like turns white. Like it freezes almost like she just turns like into ice. It's kind of cool. And so when she's in there, dislodges, gets the stuff up. I mean, to summarize it very quickly, they eventually are dislodging more and more. She gets out of the water in her regular form. Oh, no, right? Oh, because he starts choking out Ben, right?
Yeah, the grabber.
Yeah, the grab choking out Ben because the dad sees it going towards Ben, and he's like, Ben, watch out. And he, with the belt, he does like a front flip gets the belt around his neck and flings him back, like just knocks him down. And this is again like kind of the close to the climax of like him trying to take out Ben, and he's like, oh, do you feel my hands? And he describes how he felt. He's like, this how I felt helpless and seeing the end of my life. go before me, and like he's trying to take him out the same way he did by choking him, which except the last time it was with the, well, I guess this is with the belt versus his hands, so it's the same thing, right? He's getting choked out by a you know, a string or something that's whatever.
The really other thing that we want to note here is that Finn can't see or hear him.
Yeah, he's just getting choked out. He's just getting choked out.
He can feel what's going on, but he can't see or feel.
But we're hearing him have this conversation with him, and then somehow he gets off of him, right? How does he get off of him?
So I think Gwen might have done something to get him off, because I'm pretty sure this is when he starts going towards Gwen, and she's like, "Oh, I brought friends."
Yeah, and then she ends up getting. Oh, somebody hits him with something, right?
It would have been her.
Yeah. She hits him with something. He gets off of him, and then he's going after her. Yeah, the barrels come up, and he gets grabbed on the foot by one of the things.
Yeah,
and then he kind of shakes it off, and then he skates a little bit, and then another one grabs him, and basically this is where we're finding out that the friends are the victims. And then the victims all are standing up, and they are there to take him out and help take him out.
Yeah.
And then this is where they're holding him down. I'm pretty sure as they're holding his feet, she has his hatchet, and she like slices his feet off, and like so he can't skate anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god! And then it like it just stays there, and then he's like crawling, right? He like tries to like get away to go wherever he's gonna go, and then this is where Finn somehow can physically, or no, go ahead.
So before that happens, she axes him in the face.
Oh,
and she
that's
peels
right.
the mask
Peels
off.
the mask off, and he's like,
you get this really gnarly shot of basically like a face with no skin. And
right. Well, and before that too, when he realizes that he gets screwed and he has like all of them working against him, because he has the smiley mask the whole time. This is where he gets before he pulls it, this is where he gets the sad face or the mellow face of like, you can tell something's not sitting well. I think that's his normal like melancholy face whenever in the first movie, like when he's just trying to have normal conversation, he's not in like mean mode or like evil mode. Because I think there's like 3 different faces, right? There's smiley face, there's mellow face, and then there's angry face.
Yeah.
So this was like mellow face, is like scared face. And so she hatchets him, rips it off, the whole mask comes off, and he's like, and then this is where, Finn grabs him, like he's able to like, he tries to figures out a way to like find him and mount him, and he grabs him, and he just starts like slamming his face into the ice, and all you see is just the ice just splashing up, and then they keep on panning back and forth between Dream World and not Dream World, and he's just literally, his face is just getting caved in. He's kind of slowly near the watering hole at this point, and I mean, it's pretty grotesque, like it's pretty bad, but he's getting dragged into the water by the kids, and just as he's about to leave, before he goes, he reaches out to grab the mask to put it back on his face before he goes under, which I think is important to note, because his character, again, his evil persona needs the mask, like he does not function very well without it. And so he basically gets quote unquote dragged down to the cold depths of hell, I guess is how you would put it, by the victims. However, the victims were found, obviously. Yeah. And then I think the last shot we see is Gwen kicking the foot into the water with him, which I thought was crazy. I'm like, bro, that blade is so sharp. Like, how would you gonna cut yourself? And then we get the shot of like them finding the remaining bodies, and then
Mondo calls the different families saying that they found the victims. The payphone is ringing, and Gwen answers it.
Right, and Finn doesn't hear it.
Right.
This is only Gwen hearing it.
So she talks to Hope, and this is one of my biggest gripes with the movie. Mm-hmm. Is that in this conversation where she's crying to Mom, and Mom is like, no, you did great, XYZ, she says, I didn't save anybody. What the fuck is the plot of the entire movie? Like, if you, what do you mean you didn't save anybody? You helped these 3 people, these 3 lost boys find salvation, and that's what Hope says. But, to me, it's just we had all of this character build up of her building confidence, right? In this realm, just to get it flushed down the toilet.
Right. Well, I think in her mind, I guess not to fully defend it, but I think maybe that in her eyes, she is still seeing it from the perspective of, but these kids still lost their lives. Like they're like, I didn't save anybody. I just gave them peace, but it's not, to her, maybe it doesn't feel the same. She wasn't able to be proactive and save them before the atrocities happened. She, but like to your extent, I think that's a valid point. I just think that's where maybe her mind is at. Like that she stopped the grabber, but she didn't really save the kids. The kids just are now not in purgatory. But yeah, they have that conversation, and then one of the last things she says is, tell Finn that I said Robin said he's doing great, like he's okay. And then that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah,
like,
we see everybody leave camp. And
that's the movie ends. I will say the final thought to at least that phone call, I thought it was really good to the point where I had brought up a couple of times of like, the mom even I felt like was stuck in purgatory, because now that those kids are free, I think the mom is also free because the grabber is finally gone. And now she's able to be free as well. So even herself is free, being able to get out of the loop of that same conversation she was having with the kids. She can actually have a one-on-one conversation, and that evil thought of her having, taken her life, she's gotten away from that because she was a victim also. So she could not get away from that until the grabber was completely eradicated.
And to your point, when Gwen is having the conversation in the van with the grabber, I'm pretty sure he even says that he kept her there, her being Hope. That he kept her there so that way he could show Gwen basically that he was responsible for what happened.
And I think that was a good point too. Like at some point, that was going to happen. But yeah, no, I think, man, I don't know, like just kind of looking back on it again, I feel like reflecting on a lot of the thought that was put back into the movie, I really did enjoy it. Like I think there was a lot of cool things like that. And again, just the whole Ethan Hawke, just his deliveries were great. They didn't even need him the full movie, but when he was in it, it was good. Like there was just good moments. The fact that they were able to change the direction, again, they could have easily gone with the Finn part 2, but they actually went with Gwen instead, and seeing her development of her powers was pretty awesome. And the fact that they're building upon the power that they have within this, like they've opened up that door now to like, she's able to be in this dream realm. Well, even if they don't go with Ethan Hawke and it's not the grabber anymore, like they could easily go with another big bad, and it's Gwen or Finn or both trying to deal with, whatever. Even though their family may not be closely related to it, it would be interesting to see them if they made a third following that. And I think they've opened the door for that to be the case. So I think that was what made the movie good, in my opinion, was that they, even if they did need the sequel, they did it in a way that was productive. It was done well, and they, I don't know. I just liked it. I think it could have easily been way worse than I think some people put it out to be, but I didn't think it was a bad movie. I thought it was still a good movie. It had good horror elements, and even though it was a complete 360, 180, however you want to see it, of the previous movie, it had a lot of good moments.
Yeah, I think talking about it really helped. I do like it more now that we talked about it, but I just can't get over it. This is my opinion. I don't think that Gwen or Finn are good actors.
Bro, he's How to Train Your Dragons. What do you mean?
I haven't seen it. I haven't even seen the animated movie.
Bro, he's How to Train Your Dragons. He's the Train Your Dragon.
He's the train.
He is the train. It was cool. Those are my biggest notes, I think. Like, I really love that idea. I love that they keep the common theme of horror movies with the clairvoyance, when the people that were like, oh, the powers and blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro, like The Shining. Like, what do you mean? Like that's literally clairvoyance, in every movie usually have some supernatural power that they have. And Carrie, it was, Carrie. Yeah. And it was cool that now looking back too, we see immediately from the first scene that the phone power was also something that the mom had that they didn't talk about. They only talked about the dreams and the visions. So it was kind of interesting that we immediately get from the first part, like, hey, she also had this other power, but Finn only got that one, and Gwen only got the other one, but now Gwen is kind of evolved to where now she can have both, which is kind of cool. She has a little bit of both. Finn needs the medium, Gwen doesn't. Gwen is the medium herself, which I think is kind of your layers of different clairvoyant levels, right? Which is kind of cool. So yeah, I don't know, man. I would really hope that they maybe do another one. I would like to see where they go with it, as long as it's the same directors. I doubt it would be, though. Usually after 2 movies of the same directors, they always change it on the 3rd movie, i.e. Insidious and some of those other ones. But I loved Insidious. I don't know. They were saying this should be the new Conjuring verse, is the Black Phone verse.
Black Phone verse? That would be cool.
That would be cool. I don't know. I like it. It's gonna stink without Ethan Hawke. I think he's really good at what he does, but
but bring Jack O'Connell to see what he wants to do.
Jack O'Connell, the provers.
True.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was Blackbone 2. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm stuff. We really appreciate it. The next movie that we're going to cover is one of my most anticipated movies for 2026. And not because I think the movie's going to be good, but because I think it's going to be an absolute dumpster fire. And I can't wait to see it. But it's going to be The Strangers Chapter 3. So until then, y'all have a good day.